أولا السلام عليكم. أنا حنان السيد، أستاذ مساعد طب شرعي وسموم ومدير وحدة الاستشارات الطبية الشرعية. النهاردة إن شاء الله مؤتمر الثالث لليونسكو Chair of Bioethics. في بس introduction صغيرة. Bioethics or medical ethics advocates respect for the human person. This multidisciplinary questioning reflects on the possible consequences of scientific progress on society and sets, if necessary, moral limits to prevent abuses. Bioethics sets out the boundaries that scientists should not cross. And now, let's renew our passion for the third annual conference of UNESCO Chair on Bioethics. Its name is How to Integrate Bioethics into Education, Research, and Practice. Our first session from 8:30 to 9:30, Bioethics and Responsible Science. And let's begin with our Professor Wael Badawi, Member Research Council of Communication Information Technology, ASRT, Chair of Department of Data Science, School of Artificial Intelligence, Egyptian Russian University, Cairo, Egypt, under the name of Ethics Reimagined, the role of AI in shaping bioethics in the 21st century. تفضل يا فندم.
Good morning, everybody, and just starting fresh here today in the very beginning. So we start with our presentation. Will you bring the presentation here? So we start with the introduction. We have a new term coming to the market called artificial intelligence. And because of COVID and the other parameters, other forces around us, we realize that there is a need for a better digital processing techniques to facilitate and simplify the current operation. So life science or health or bio applications, this was one of the good areas because it basically has the mass people. So we start to see that we have diagnosing with AI or interpreted by artificial intelligence. We had treatment, we had bed allocations in hospitals. We start to manage our healthcare using what we call it digital information or artificial intelligence. Now we start to see a shift which bioethics became adopted to what we call it machine decision making, not human decision making, and we will explore the challenges brought in. If we want to classify this talk is around artificial intelligence bioethics. We will talk about algorithmic bias, explainable AI, healthcare equity, patient autonomy, and responsible innovation. So we start now to see the rise of artificial intelligence in biomedicine. Wherever you go, they take your information in a digital form. You are subject to digital imaging or scanning, and there are some predictive models to produce not only diagnosing, but also some genome models and patient risk recovery and patient scores and prediction and what have you. So here we come and ask a big question. Who is responsible for this decision? Are these decisions human supervised or they are standalone? You have been, in Arabic we say, you had obeying the oath or اللي هو قسم أبو قرات. We all of us or all of you guys, we are in engineering, we have different set of oaths. You are in medical, you have. However, the AI did not have this oath. So if we look at AI as a problems of AI itself, we have the first things is transparency. So we want to ask, can patient and the clinic understand how AI arrived at this decision? If I have a diagnosing, I can go to a consultation of doctors, and these doctors will justify because and what there you have these particular symptoms, you are diagnosed with this or that or that, and that's why you have these medications. However, in AI, we don't have this kind of transparency. We start to implement what we call it explanatory AI. However, it is still not at the level which we as human understand how the decision have been made. Is this important? As a matter of fact, this is a key factor because if I want to present to you as a doctor or a physician or as a a practitioner a decision to endorse, you need to understand how we arrive at this decision. Also, we are talking about bias. So in using artificial intelligence, we suffer from bias. And sometimes this bias is not because the system is against a specific group, it's because the data itself, which was trained upon, was biased. And one of the common example we use here is if we know there are two physicians only, they took Nobel Prize. So if you have a little girl of 10 years old, you put it to the AI and ask the AI if she has likelihood to be a Nobel winner. The AI will tell you no, because more than 90% of the winners in this field are male dominant. So that's why we want to talk about how these models can be biased against inequality. We start to see this bias actually when we were exposed to the group in Florida, which is doing a consortium in Florida, was doing some diagnosing, and then we realized when the technology have been moved from Florida, USA to Europe, they start to give not accurate decisions. We also in different field, which is security field and face recognition, we found out that IBM models do not work in Europe and Middle East because they have been trained mainly in China. So this bias is not intended. However, it can be byproduct of the whole process. The biggest question still from legal perspective, who is accountable when the AI gets wrong? And are all patients still empowered to make choices if the machine will decide? And I will add one fifth element here. We call it digital divide. So the digital divide means all of us are exposed or having access to the same digital information or AI. So in Egypt, people in Upper Egypt, in urban areas, in rural areas, does all of them have the same technology access? So these are the challenges we have. We have a case study. We talk about organ transplant allocation. So AI can rank patient by urgency, by compatibility, by predicted outcome. Now, for AI, doesn't have, should life expectancy override social context? Can patient challenge the algorithm decision? Where is human oversight? So when we look at different allocations, and here we talk about organs, however, in different large hospitals, they talk about bed allocations and available beds and how they can position the people from emergency to standard acute sessions. So these all questions are in play. AI is a new era. And in AI, we talk right now about generative AI, and the AI can generate reports and medical reports. Is not only give you a diagnosing in 2 keywords, it can also write reports. And this started in 2022. If we look at the governance of the AI, we have the WHO 21, Human Rights and Safety First, UNESCO, and there is the EU AI Act. And we have lots of questions why EU in particular, because AI is not a local one country play, it's a multi-country place. You have the models developed by a nation, you have the hosting in a different nation, the access and the process from a different nation. So we have to have a consortium of countries, and almost all countries now looking for the EU to be the lead on how to manage this, integrate this heterogeneous relation between different countries. Now, saying so, we are looking internally here and see, do we have a framework and the governance? FDA also have some rules right now around how to push equipment using AI and what is the best practice. But we say there is a gap, and the gap cannot be filled for one reason. That's every 18 months now or every year now since 2022, we start to see a brand new type of AI. So now I can take a single image, I can take a single X-ray of a chest, and I can make the lungs display in 3D the motion of the lungs based on this X-ray. It's the same what we see on social media of having the pharaohs dancing behind the dancer. The same concept exists. Now, if you give your imagination to this level, we have always to ask what's coming in the future. So what we want to say is ethics are evolving with AI. It's a real-time audit, and we have to have a feedback loop. We need to be agile enough to include different voices, and we need to be cross-disciplinary. I come from engineering schools or from artificial intelligence schools. We come with the practitioner, with the physicians. Each one of us has its own expertise, and then we can conclude to specific uh, part or specific code. As we say, it's a design, deploy, audit, adapt, and the SX is not static. In conclusion, what I want to say is AI is changing not only medicine, is it changing every and anywhere we go, because AI is either computer can see, computer can learn, computer can hear, and now computer can generate content. So you can look at the AI as a real human. Unfortunately, we are very fortunate that AI does not have a will. So he does not have an interest. He does not have a will. We command the AI, we ask questions, it responds to us. That's why we still having upper hand over the AI. However, the productivity will be increased. With productivity increase, you have function of error, function of misperception, function of overlooked, and the question will be who is the one responsible. We must embed fairness, transparency, and the human values in AI. Collaboration with different Essex group for Essex to progress. And in number two, I have to say a personal comment. We as a nation are not developing AI. We are only user of it. We are not hosting AI. We are not even controlling how it will receive data and access it. We are just simple user. So we do have major challenges till we have an AI engine hosted in one of our Arab countries or one of our in Egypt or any other neighbor countries, trusted countries. And in this way, we can talk about privacy, we can talk about transparency and everything. Last things I want to hint to is we see like coming from China, lots of new AI tools from China and Korea. And it's my responsibility to warn you guys not to use it, because we don't know what kind of rules are governing this particular hosting, this particular operations. We don't know what they do with the data. And one of you will ask me, okay, so what about ChatGPT or Bard or any Microsoft or Google companies? I would tell you these companies operate in North America or in Europe. Between Europe and North America, there is a NATO agreement. Under this agreement, the residents of these countries, they do have some protection. And likely when we use these platforms, we are exposed enjoying these protections. At the end, I would like to appreciate the presentation. I do have a few books on this particular topic, and this is my name, my email, and thank you for the hosting, for inviting me for this talk, and thank you very much. Are we going to lose our job? This is a $1 million question, and the immediate answer is no. We are not losing our job because few factors. The first factor, the community itself in law in USA, law judges refused material written by AI. And they asked the lawyer, they said, there is no problem of you using AI instead of using a junior researcher, but you are responsible to review and vet. If I am vetting something, I have to be in a higher information level. I have been to be more into critique mode, which means skillful, I am more skilled. We are losing jobs for those only who do not advance and learn the technology, because this technology allows us to proceed in a higher rate. We get more results. So what we say, the jobs will be here for only individuals who have been modernized their practitioner by incorporating these tools. There are also new jobs are coming. So there are new jobs like how you can arrange X-rays to go exposed to AI. What is the decision? What is the... So there are, in the last report I've been reading, as I said, we are losing number of jobs, but double of these numbers have been produced in a different discipline. But the human expertise is still the one in demand. I don't believe there is a law which allow us to get decisions from AI to pharmacy to medication without human involved. Yes, human will be less, However, they are more technically savvy or more subject matter expert in level of as extensible, so they can critique and judge somebody else. And this is what we have been watching over the last 2 years. And thank you for this $1 million question.
You allow me to do we have ethical governance of AI in healthcare?
I believe we have trials because we have been exposed with so many committees in having some drafts, but we don't have a complete one. And to be honest, it has to be per institution. So I always ask individual, even in company, I say you need to have what is the AI policy. So if you're even using email generated by AI to respond, is you responsible or you will be punished? So we believe that each group or each organization, each university, each clinic, each part must have their own policy. And we will have the umbrella, but you know, the umbrella is an umbrella, does not talk about the specifics. The issues we see right now is inside the syndicate, like the engineering syndicate, and I believe also the medical syndicates. They don't foresee this as a threat. They still using it in the old way. But they are our teacher and our role model, so we cannot critique them. But what I was saying is, we are available. We can come to talk everywhere. Convey the message to whoever you know, whoever you are. If you need us to come to join, we have here for the chair. We can come and give our talks and try to help in any way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's welcome our greatest chairpersons, Professor Dr. Magda Mukhtar and Professor Dr. Siham, professors of forensic medicine and toxicology, Faculty of Medicine, Ain Shams University, with our prestigious next guest, Professor Abir Zaid, Professor of Forensic Medicine and Clinical Toxicology, Faculty of Medicine, Cairo University, Head of the Department of Forensic Medicine and Clinical Toxicology, Faculty of Medicine, Nahda University, with her session, Ethical Dealing with Personal Data in Medical Research. الدعوة الثالثة من دكتور جامعة عين شمس، وطبعا شرفني وجودي مع حضراتكم. يعني أتمنى أن التوبيك يبقى interesting بالنسبة.
اوكي. أتمنى أن التوبيك يبقى interesting بالنسبة لحضراتكم. يعني هو توبيك من أرض الواقع، بيقابلنا كتير as a researcher. يعني الكويشن بتاع ازاي اديل properly مع البيرسونال داتا بتاع الريسيرش سبجكتس، ازاي ما بقاش انا كمان رغم هما بيدوني، ازاي انا كمان اديهم وما ما اجورش على حقوقهم كناس بنتعامل معاهم اشخاص طبيعيين ليهم الهيومن رايتس المفروض نحافظ عليها كلنا. personal data بنقصد بيها ايه؟ personal data دي هي any information that could be linked directly or indirectly ل natural alive person، يعني على قيد الحياة. احنا بنتعامل معاهم على الناس اللي هم على قيد الحياة، وهنتكلم على بعد وفاتهم بعد كده هنتصرف معاهم ازاي. الديفينيشن بتاع الجنرال داتا بروتكشن ريجوليشن للبيرسونال داتا قال لك ده any information related ل any identified or identifiable natural person اللي هو الداتا سبجكت او الريسيرش سبجكت. الكومبوننت بتاعت البيرسونال داتا هم البيرسونال داتا في بعض الكومبوننتس كده المفروض ان احنا نبقى عارفينها، اللي هي any related information للبيرسون، الايدنتيفايرز المختلفه اللي بترجع للبيرسون، الايدنتيفايبل individuals and الايدنتيفايد individuals. الايدنتيفايرز يعني ايه؟ يعني الحاجات اللي مكتوبه عندنا على النيم كارد بتاعتنا، على الباسبور، على اي حاجه يونيك ليا انا بالذات او للسبجكت ده بالذات. الداتا دي بنسميها الايدنتيفايرز. الايدنتيفايد individual يعني الانديفيدوال اللي انا اقدر اقول عليه with certainty ان this person او she is this person with certainty 100% اللي احنا بنسميه في الفورنسيك positive identification. الايدنتيفايبل individual يعني انا اقدر within group locate someone ليه special characters واقول عليه ان هو اتعرف عليه من وسط الجروب ده. This is an unidentifiable individual. طب البيرسونال انفورميشن دي قسموها في الليترشر كده لايرز، لاير كبيره واسعه قوي فيها اللينكد انفورميشن اللي هي مجموعه الانفورميشن اللي ممكن الينكت مع بعضيها توصلني للبيرسون، واللي هي مش سبيسيفيك قوي للبيرسون. وفي الايدنتيفاير اللاير اللي تحتيها اللي هي انتمت قوي للانديفيدوال اللي هي اليونيك كاركتر بتاعه الانديفيدوال. في جروب من الداتا بنسميه سبيشال كاتيجوري داتا، بنسميه سنسيتيف داتا. دي المفروض نتعامل معاها بحيطه وحذر اكتر من الجنرال داتا which is الداتا اللي هي related للريس، للريليجن، للبوليتيكال implication، الجينيتك بروفايل، البايومتريكس اللي احنا كتير بنشتغل عليها في شغلنا في الريسيرش بتاعنا في الانثروبولوجي في الفورنسيك، في السكشوال لايف او السكشوال داتا او السكشوال اورينتيشن. This is for example للسنسيتيف داتا. الميديكال ريسيرش في كل التخصصات ساعات بينفولف السبجكتس الهيومن سبجكتس regarding البيرسونال داتا دي، بتقوم على البيرسونال داتا ده، على اللايف ستايل، على الهيلث هابتس، على الحاجات الريليتد، وساعات كمان تبقى انكروتشنج على الريلاتيفز والريليشن شيبس والكلام ده. فطبعا لازم بما اني انا بانكروتش عشان اطلع ريسيرش على الصندوق الاسود بتاع كل شخص، على البرايفسي بتاعت كل شخص، لازم احافظ على البرايفسي بتاعته as much as I can. وده السكوب بتاعنا ان انا اريسبكت البرايفت لايف لان دي يعني هيومن رايتس. acknowledge الاونرشيب، هو اونر للداتا بتاعته دي، يبقى لازم acknowledge his ownership as a research subject. مش وانس ان هو ادهاني هو الاونرشيب اتنقلت ليا، لا، ده احنا بنسميها كاستوديانشيب، ان انا يعني ببقى امين على حاجته ولكني انا مش اونر للمعلومات. كمان avoid اي unfair discrimination within الريسيرش او بعد حتى الريزلتس بتاعت الريسيرش. عشان نبروتكت البرايفسي لازم يعني اخد بالي كويس قوي من الثلاثه كومبوننتس دول، من الكونسنت بتاعه الريسيرش سبجكت، من الكونفيدنشاليتي، ومن السكيورتي. ازاي هتعامل مع الداتا بتاعته بشكل كونفيدنشال وهمنتينت بشكل سكيور، او مانج الداتا بشكل سكيور. البرايفسي حاجه والكونفيدنشاليتي حاجه ثانيه. البرايفسي دي طول ما لسه المعلومات ما وصلتنيش هي برايفت ليه، هو ده الصندوق الاسود بتاعه. طلعت عندي ووصلتني بقيت انا مسؤوله عن الكونفيدنشاليتي بتاعه المعلومات دي. الكونفيدنشاليتي دي جزء مهم جدا 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 في التعامل مع البيرسونال داتا. كونفيدنشاليتي مهمه لان هي بتمنتين او هي الكي element في الدكتور بيشنت ريليشن شيب، وكمان في البابليك انترست فينا سواء as a physician او as a researcher. ساعات طبعا بنحتاج نعمل او بنضطر نبريتش الكونفيدنشاليتي بشكل برضو اثيكال لما البنفيت بتاع البريتشنج ده بيبقى اعلى شويه من ان انا امنتين الستريكت كونفيدنشاليتي. regarding الكونسنتنج للبيشنت طبعا لازم نبقى عارفين ان الليجل كونسنت الفاليد كونسنت لازم تبقى easily accessible، يقدر يطلع عليها في اي وقت، مش ورقه خلاص وانا باخدها وبحطها في جيبي او تتحفظ عندي زي ما بيحصل في كلينيكال ريسيرشز كتيره قوي حتى على مستوى كبير في يعني الكلينيكال ترايلز القوميه. بنبص نلاقي كونسنت كده كراسه كده امضي ونشيلها عندنا عشان الاوديت وعشان حاجات زي كده. لا، هي لازم تبقى اكسسبل ليه، هو حقه الاول. الحق الريسيرش سبجكت لازم تبقى understandable ويعني ما اعتقدش ان احنا بناخد بالنا من النقطه دي قوي. لازم تبقى سبيسيفيك، وعشان كده بنسميها انفورمد للريسيرش سبجكت اللي احنا، او الموضوع الريسيرش اللي احنا بنقول عليه. لازم ما يبقاش فيها اي نوع من السبمشن او يعني الاشياء اللي بتتعمل علشان تبوش الريسيرش سبجكت ان هو يدخل جوه الريسيرش. ولازم تبقى منفصله عن اي دوكيمنت ثانيه، بحيث انها تبقى واضحه وما تتوهش وسط الدوكيمنت. كمان لازم علشان الفاليديتي بتاعتها تكتمل، لازم الريسيرش سبجكت ده يعرف ان هو ممكن يبقى withdrawn في اي وقت، وازاي المعلومات دي بعد ما الريسيرش هتخلص هتبقى distracted. الريسيرش بروسيجر بيقول الكونسنت بروسيجر بيبقى فيه مجموعه اسئله لازم يبقى الريسيرش سبجكت عارفها. مين اللي هيبقى له حق الاكسس؟ مين اللي هيبقى مسؤول هو الكاستيديانشيب عن الانفورميشن؟ مين اللي هيكونتاكت هيم لو احتاج اي حاجه، يعني كونتاكت بيرسون. كمان يعرف 3 اسئله تانيين: مين الاورجنايزيشن اللي مسؤول؟ مين الكونفيدنشاليتي بروسيجر هيعمل فيها ايه؟ الداتا بعد ما الاستادي يبقى كومبليتد هيحصل لها ايه؟ ممكن نعمل ريسيرش without الكونسنت بكل تفاصيلها دي. هو ساعات في المستشفيات بتاعتنا الجامعيه بن انفولف البيشنتس بتوعنا بشكل يعني ما فيهوش التفاصيل المطلقه دي قوي. فالمفروض ان احنا نديفلوب بروسيجرز، ما نقولش جاست ان هو بقى عيان عندي في المستشفى الجامعي التعليمي يبقى هو خلاص ريسيرش سبستريت او ريسيرش سبجكت. ولازم وانا بجادج القصه دي لازم اعتمد على الكلام ده في ان انا اجادج الريسيرش باي ريسيرش او كيس باي كيس، موافقه ان انا ابروسيد في الموضوع ده. النسيستي بتاعت الريسيرش ده هاو ماتش يعني مهم ونسيسري، وما اقدرش اعمله بطريقه ثانيه وسنسيتيف، وازاي هسيف جارد المعلومات دي، وطبعا الاندبندنت ريفيوز والاكسبكتيشنز بتاعتي من نتائج الريسيرش ده. بسيف جارد الكونفيدنشاليتي ازاي؟ بحاجه مهمه جدا، ودي اهم حاجه في الموضوع النهارده، اللي هو الكودينج والاناليزيشن للداتا. يعني ان انا ببقى عندي معلومات بعمل لها بروسيسنج فبتختفي ماهيه الشخصيه دي. عندنا حاجه اسمها انونمايزيشن وسودو انونمايزيشن للبيرسونال داتا. الكودينج او التكويد اللي احنا بنعمله دايما في الريسيرشز بتاعتنا بنسميها لينكد انونمايزد داتا. يعني ايه؟ يعني الايدنتي تبقى كونسيلد، ولكن بيبقى فيه كي اللي اقدر ارجع له، وبيبقى غالبا مع البي اي او البرنسبل انفستيجيتور. وده بيليمت النمبر بتاع الناس اللي ليهم اكسس، وبيقلل الريسك بتاع الديسكلوجر، وده اللي بنسميه سودو انونمايزيشن، اللي هو اللينكد، اللي هو التكويد بتاعنا. طيب ايه الانلينكد بقى ده؟ الانلينكد ده ان انا يعني اللينك بين البيرسونال والداتا بتاعته irreversibly broken، مفيش كي، ما اعرفش ارجع ريتروجريد تاني. يعني اي حاجه من الحاجات السبيسيفيك داتا بتاعته دي مش موجوده عندي، لا نيم ولا ايميل ولا تليفون ولا اي حاجه. يبقى الفرق بين اللينكد او السودو انونيمايزيشن والانونيمايزيشن ان السودو ده ليه كي واقدر ارجع ريتروجريد ريفرسبل، لكن الانونيمايزيشن ده irreversible، والداتا ما بيبقاش اي معنى، زي ما حضرتك شايف كده عند حضرتك هنا اهو، ما فيش اي معنى للسيمبلز او الداتا او الكي اللي انا عامله او التكوين. طب بنطلع احصائيات وبنعمل ريكورد ازاي؟ بنعمل ريكورد بحاجات دي ايدنتيفاي كومبليتلي انونيمايز، ملهاش كي. من حقي اطلع statistics ومن حقي اعمل داتا لصالح الكوميونتي كله. طب الكلينيكال ستاديز الصغيره بتاعتنا احنا بنعمل ايه؟ بنعمل يعني الكودينج، مسلسل انيشيالز مش عارفه ايه. لان لو عملت كودز يعني معقده زي الكود دي كده اللي فوق اللي ظاهره على السكرين دي، بيبقى صعب، لان بحتاج كل شويه عشان الكير اعمل دي كودينج وكودينج دي كودينج، فبيبقى فيه فاليسز كتيره قوي ممكن تاثر على الريزلت، فبضطر بعمل ويكر كودز زي مسلسل، زي انيشيالز، يعني ادي العيانين او الريسيرش سبجكت بتوعي ارقام، مش اكتر من كده. الريسبونسبيلتيز عشان اجارد المساله دي يبقى لازم اعمل اوفر اول مانجمنت كنترول للريسيرش داتا. لازم لو في بريتشز اعمل رابيد ريسبونس، امانج السوفت وير، انشور لو في دوبليكيت فايلز اشيلها، وبكنترول طبعا الاكسس رايت، وبوفر يعني سيف جاردنج في الفيزيكال انفايرمنت اللي انا شايله فيها الداتا، بحيث انها تبقى سكيور. الرومز طبعا لازم تبقى الاكسس ليها ليميتد بيرسون خالص. السيرفرز، الراوترز، الكلام ده كله لازم يبقى هاوس في سكيورد اريا، زي الكمبيوتر بتاع الامتحانات بتاعنا كده في الاسم، الاوضه بتاعته ما فيهاش حد. لازم اعمل لوجينج اوت وانا بخلص الشغل بتاعي. ما احطش داتا على اي حاجه بورتبل، مثلا فلاش ميموريز، لابتوبس، كلام زي كده. ولو عندي حاجه زي كده لازم احطها على حاجه ثابته على طول. بالنسبه للالكترونيك انفايرمنت، اعمل ايه في الداتا دي؟ طبعا برضو مين اللي يدخل على البرامج والكلام ده، الاكسس رايت لازم يبقى معروف ومتحدد لمين، يبقى في فورم ليتر يعني ريتن اوثرايزيشن، كل واحد حدوده قد ايه بالظبط، كل واحد يبقى ليه فاليد يوزر نيم واي دي وباسورد، وكل شويه يالتر الباسورد بتاعته، وما يكتبهاش خالص ويسيبها في حته عشان ما حدش يستعملها. اول ما افتح الاب يبقى فيه confidentiality warning message. لازم المفروض ان انا ما تبادلش الحاجات الداتا البيرسونال دي على الانترنت فيا لينكد دوكيومنتس ولا something like that. بعمل disposal secure disposal للداتا، بان انا لو عملت اركايفنج بتبقى لازم تبقى اركايف في حته سكيور زي في الوقت بالظبط اللي انا بشتغل فيه. ولو عملت ديستروينج لازم ادوكيومنت بدستروي ازاي، علشان بعد كده لو في اوديت او في واتس ايفر او عايز ارجع للريزلت ارجع لها. ثانك يو فيري ماتش، واسفه ان انا يعني exceeding التايم. متشكره جدا.
And now, with our online session, Professor Michel Daher, Professor of Surgery and Bioethics, St. George University of Beirut, Chair IRB, SGUB, SGH, Vice Chair National Committee for Palliative Care, Secretary General, Lebanese National Bioethics Committee. His talk is What Makes a Research Study on Human Subject Ethical. Professor Michel, حضرتك معانا؟
Yes, good morning.
Good morning يا فندم، اتفضل.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I will share my presentation. Can I share my presentation? Hello. I was disabled to share my screen. Can you help me?
Okay. 1 second, please.
Hello.
أيوة يا فندم. We are working on it. هو ما فيش قدام حضرتك أي icon to share the presentation? You don't.
Yes, I have it, but I have a message that I cannot share my screen.
The green button, you can share it. The green button,
Yes.
the chair. Just click on it. Yes, click on the button, the green button, which has the word share. Yes, down, down, the downward bar.
Here. No?
Yeah, you found it?
I'm on it.
Yes, click on it. Click on it, please. You didn't.
Yeah. I have a message host disabled participant screen sharing. Or
الهوست disabled the share. Okay, sir, we are working on it. دكتور ميشيل حضرتك هو ما بقاش معايا كده ما بقاش معايا. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm okay. I've got it. It's okay.
You did it?
Yes.
Okay. I can't see him now.
Yeah. Good morning. Sorry for the problem.
Okay.
Um,
Now we can see the screen, sir.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. My topic today is what makes a research on human participants ethical. I'm happy to hear Professor before me because this will truly facilitate my presentation. This is the outline of my presentation, and to say that I have no disclosure for this conference. I like to start always the definition of research by this anecdotic story of Newton and the gravity. He was lying under a tree and an apple fall on his head, and he said, "Why?" And after so many investigations and data analysis, he arrived to say that there is a force of gravity, and the F is the mass and by the acceleration. And he was right. This is a good definition of what is a research. And in the research, we have always a scientist. The scientists have a big responsibilities because he is the one who is going to protect the research participants, the integrity of the study, the integrity of the researchers, and the institutions where the research is done. There's an interaction between medical practice, research, and on human subjects, because we have to deal with the human rights and the humanity, the ethical design and the conduct of the research, and of course, the scientific and technical competence of the principal investigators. And here we have so many international regulations about the research on human and I show you some international guidelines. You see that we have the Helsinki Declaration, which the latest one is now in 2024. And this is an update that for those who didn't have it, it is interesting to read it. We have the Council of International Organization for Medical Sciences. The last update is in 2016. And last but not least, the Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Health of and Human Rights by the UNESCO in March, last month in 2025. So we have to apply all the way the ethical principles of ethics that were stated by the Belmont Report in 1978, with the three component of it, the respect for persons, where we have to respect the autonomy of the person, and if, of course, having a good informed consent by the research subjects, beneficence, where we have to evaluate the risk and the advantage for research on the society and others, and the justice, last but not least, to have a fair sharing of the burden and the benefit of research. I have to say that the scientific integrity is a group of four ways to do a good scientific research: by honesty of the principal investigator, the accuracy of the data that are used in this research, the efficiency that we use the resources and avoid the waste of resources, and at the end, the objectivity of the conclusion which should be a result of the study and the data in the study. A study on the benefit and risk analysis is very important because we have to keep a benefit for the research subjects and a benefit for the society so that we can use the result of the research for some further intervention and advantage for the healthcare in the society. As long as we have a minimal risk, and maybe sometimes above the minimal risk, we can admit that the study is fair. But when we have a very risky with a dangerous situation for participants, this is not allowed in any research on human subjects. We have to take in consideration the vulnerable population, and this was lately very studied and stressed on by many guidelines, international declaration, like the World Medical Declaration of Helsinki in its late update in 2024. The Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Health Rights by the UNESCO in 2025, and of course the Council of International Organization of Medical Sciences in 2016. They prompted on the rights of vulnerable population in research studies. The vulnerabilities at times, we have people who may struggle to protect their interest and or may be exploited in the research. That's why we have to be very careful when we are in front of people like the children, the mentally retarded, the handicapped, prisoners, refugees, terminally ill patients, and sometimes women. The informed consent in research, it was very well developed. My previous speaker, Professor Abir Zayed, I thank her for developing the informed consent. This is a process where we have along to respect it, and of course we have to respect the guidelines and regulation in our study, and the person is informed about all what's going on in the study and the potential risk and the potential results, and of course obtain his signature for the research. The components of informed consent are mainly a disclosure where we give good information by the clinician to the subject, the capacity of the person to understand what was explained to him and the information, and why what might be the consequences of participating in the research. And last but not least, the voluntariness, where the patient is understand very well that he can withdraw at any time without any coercion or manipulation. Privacy and confidentiality was also well explained by Dr. Zayed, and this is a right for every person to be left alone when he is participating in the research, and of course he might be sure that his personal information is accessible for any person rather. So our duty is to protect the personal information, and of course to make any access and make a control for the dissemination of personal information by a good keeping a safeguards of our research. Anonymity should be respected, and of course when we do any recorded data or quotes whatsoever, we don't have to give any possibility of going from a data to the person who gave it. take care about using clocks and computer passwords, as it was said before, so that nobody can have an access to the information. These are some measures that we have to respect in order to keep our privacy and confidentiality protected, avoid identifiable data, encode the collected data, limit access to data, keeping password, protect your personal computers, and destroy the original copies, and training of research on confidentiality. All people involved in the research must know all these rules of confidentiality. And of course, there are some exceptional, as it was said, but of course they are very limited in reality. There might be a conflict of interest in research. We have to be, as a IRB, I am the chairman of the IRB of my university, and we are sometimes confronted to the conflict of interest of people. Sometimes it's coming from the researchers themselves. Have to be very careful to see who is the funding, who is what are the hidden interest of researchers in such research. Of course, we have sometimes a conflict of interest between the research ethic board members, the IRB members themselves, and the chairman should be very aware about this when there is a conflict between a member of the IRB, so that he can be out while the discussion about the study is done during the meeting. Of course, the institution also might have some conflict of interest. We have to be protected from this pressure from the institution. So how we review, what is the role of the IRB and the reviewer is to see all these problems and get them clear. First, have the risks to subject been minimized? Are the risks reasonable in relation to anticipated benefits? Is the selection of subjects equitable? Are adequate procedures in place to ensure privacy and confidentiality? Has informed consent been thought and appropriately documented? Are safeguards in place to protect vulnerable populations? When we have clearing all these topics, so the IRB approval can be provided and offered to the study. As a recommendation, I can say that by placing some people at risk of harm for the good of others, clinical research have the potential for exploitation. And this is the problem. We have to be thankful all the time for our participants in research, because in some way we are exploiting these people for the interest of the community. So we recommend that enhanced education's efforts should be done for all who are conducting research, so that the informed consent would be the pillar of a study where the person is completely aware of the study and give his okay without any coercion or pressure. And the way ahead, we promote all the time to develop the capacity in health research and ethics. A research requirement to conduct and sustain the review is also important. That's why the person who are involved in the IRB and the review of studies should be have a good instruction of the different point that should be respected in the study. We have to develop linkages and communication strategies so that we can always help each other to promote and to have and to make our reviews more efficacious. And we have to create a novel training and learning opportunities as it is created by the WHO online for all people who would like to have a training on ethics of research and how to review the ethics of research. I finish by this to say that protecting research participants is a shared responsibility. We should all work upon a good research and protect our participants. Thank you very much for your brief. And these are my references for the presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Let's welcome our dearest Professor Yasser Fouad, Professor of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, Faculty of Medicine, Iceland University, to be a chairperson for the next session. And now with Professor Ferial Khamis, National Bioethics Committee in Oman, Embedded Ethics in Health and Climate Change, Role of Bioethics.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for University of Ain Shams for the kind invitation. So these are the outline of my presentation. I'm going to go directly into a little bit of changing gears. So climate change, you all are aware about climate change. We talk about changes in the global temperatures and weather patterns over time. Three things happens: extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and loss of biodiversity. Now, what is the cause for climate change? Primarily driven by accumulation of greenhouse gases emissions, energy emissions to the atmosphere. And this is because of the activities that we do as human beings. More specifically, we kind of burn fossil fuels, we deforest the forest, we have industrial processes, agriculture processes, and more important, the entire conference is about smart solutions. So look at the AI, and we've been talking about AI for the last 2 days. And you can see that training an AI model, the amount of the release on emissions of CO2 that you can see, it's 600 more times than human life in 1 year, average 1 year, and more than the emissions that we have from cars. It's not only the energy consumption that the AI has, but it's also the amount of waste when we build all these wirings, everything. This is all waste that goes back to the environment. The economic inequalities, and we talked about it in the previous lecture, weaponization of AI, tremendous problem that we are facing. It has major consequences on the environment and on the climate change. And then there are unintended consequences on the ecosystem. So tremendous. So look at the slides. 1.5-degree increase in the climate, in the weather, and the consequences that is happening on the weather increasing, 100% risk of increasing in flood. 350 million urban residents exposed to severe drought. And you can see the consequences. And when that increases by 0.5 degree, you can see that goes even 100 times more the impact on the human, not just human, but also on other species and in the entire universe. So we are already 1 degree higher in our temperatures than what we were before. The day before yesterday, or maybe yesterday, the weather condition in Cairo was maybe something that you have not seen before. So this is a major problem. What are the impacts? Why we talk about climate change? Because of the intersection between health and climate change. There are direct consequences, the air pollution, the allergies that we are all facing. There are also the infection diseases. So that's my background, emerging of infection diseases, pandemics. And there are the indirect, which are tremendous, the impact on food system, the impact on water system, and more importantly, the mental health that nobody addresses. And when we talk about mental health, we talk about stress, anxiety, depression. We talk about community health, and here the aggression that we see these days, all this killing that is happening in societies that are supposed not to have these issues. And then the violence, the crime, the society instability. So who is at risk for these changes? And this is a good question. And I want you to focus a little bit on the green and the red. We are mostly in the red, all the countries here probably, but I want you to focus on the green. So the green countries are the most that are emitting the CO2 and carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and carbon. And the countries that are mostly at risk, the vulnerable countries, communities, that they bear the climate change effect despite contribution the least to greenhouse emissions. So you can see the discrepancies in these two. The highest country that has emissions is United States, followed by Australia, and Canada, and those are the green countries. We heard about the vulnerable, populations. Please remember, when we talk about vulnerability, we talk about biological vulnerability, children, women, demographic, the age, always elderly and the babies, geographically, socioeconomic, and socio-political. So the marginalization and vulnerability is big, really, and the impact of climate change on all this population is significant. So the key ethical dimensions are summarized in this slide. 9, we talked about the marginalization and vulnerability, but there is also justice. And we talk about justice, we have intergeneration justice, our responsibility towards the other generations. And I'll focus on that a little bit. Also the equity and resource allocation. This is the distributive justice. And then we talk about the environmental justice, access to resources, which gets impacted when we have climate change. And then we have my rights as a human being to live in a safe environment. And then we have the accountability, transparencies, all these impacts and the corporate responsibility, companies. And then we have the issue related to the science and the research and the uncertainty and research. We have the solidarity from the globe and the adaptation and resilience, which is important. So the three important things we talk about it, and it is clear that we have with the climate crisis a perfect moral storm: justice, equity, and responsibility. And justice and equity is even more important when we talk about health, because with climate changes, the health impacts are even greater on the vulnerable populations and marginalized communities. And equity, can we sustain really? Can we preserve the environment today for our future generation or not? Or should we enjoy the AI and we should enjoy the smart technology? This is the main question that we have to answer. And then responsibility, is it shared? Is it the same? I am the Western countries, I have expended all that on carbon cake, and then I request the other nations now to be preserving the environment and thinking of climate change, while their part is very, very small. So these are important questions. And now, additional element, we are not talking about mitigation anymore. We are saying that we can't stop climate change. Let's adapt. And how adapt? Adapt by building resilience, water management, and disaster preparedness. Can a third world country, less developed country, do the adaptation measures? They can't. It is impossible to do. So that's another layer of a problem. So who bears the responsibility of climate change? How do we ensure? And then here comes our role as an individual and bioethicists. So our roles are mainly 3. We have to be part of the applying, ensure that the ethical principles are applied all the time when we talk about climate change. We have to promote justice, equity, and sustainability. At the same time, we have to be part of the policy making in any country. This is a must. And there are specific roles. So these are probably 9: evaluating ethical implications on of climate policies. We have to assess the impact on vulnerable populations. I have talked about intergenerational justice, and we talked about guiding health perspectives, advocating for research, promoting ethical standards in biotechnology, AI in particularly, educating and raising awareness, influencing policymakers and encouraging collaboration. We have to collaborate, and I like the idea we have our own AI. Countries in the region should be responsible. In the last maybe 2.5 minutes, I'll go through the UNESCO Declaration of Ethical Principles in relation to climate change. This was published in 2017. Around maybe 193 countries signed for that. Prevention, the principles of ethics that this document is going over: prevention of harm, precautionary approach, science, even if there is no clear scientific evidence, be on the precaution side if something has an impact on climate change. Equity, justice, solidarity, scientific knowledge, integration, decision-making, sustainable development. And it goes very nice into the global cooperation. Again, the shared responsibility, highlight that by, red mark, collaborative solutions, promoting ethical research. We don't have any of that in our region. Educational initiatives are very important, particularly public dialogue, awareness campaigns, which we don't have in our countries, in our region, and then educating healthcare professionals because they will guide the changes in that perspective. But I am proposing that we need to revise these guidelines or this, because it was published in 2017 and many things has changed. And one important thing I highlighted before, but I'm highlighting again, the sustainable development and that was kind of mentioned in Article 3.1. Parties should protect the climate system for the benefit of present and future generations of humankind on the basis of equity in accordance to their common but differentiated responsibility and respective capabilities. Parties have a right to and should promote sustainable development. But if I am a poor country or less developed country, I need energy to develop. So how should I put that in the context? And already the developed country have expended and emitted in the environment so much of emissions that are not imaginable. So in order to reach that, I would have to do that. So the argument, if people remain poor, unacceptable and realistic to expect them to focus their resources on climate change crisis. Here we have a dual responsibility from the Western countries and developed countries that they are not just cut their energy, but also they should support the mitigation, adaptation, issue, what we talked about it, and resilience among the other less countries. So in conclusion, climate change is not just an environmental issue, it's an ethical challenge. We all need to contribute and be part of, mitigation for climate change. Emphasizing justice, equity, shared responsibility is crucial. Collective action is needed to sustain for sustainability and just solution. Bioethicists, we have a role of ethical analysis, advocating for social justice, ensuring that health considerations are integrated in the climate discussions. We have to shape policies and practices to address implication of climate change. And finally, we have to make the changes because, as Einstein said, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. And we have been doing this for the last 1.5 years. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for an excellent presentation. Dr. Furiel, do we have bioethicists who are actually ready for combating climate change and working on the ethical principles which should be applied in our part of the world?
I think that's important that I have not seen a document that comes from our regions on a policy, by bioethicists on this subject. We had a meeting last year with the WHO. that all of us in the region, like many, there was some representative from the region, in order to start and talk about climate change. And we, as bioethicists committees, national committees, we have a role in doing that. And I think we have our own differences, our own challenges, and then we need to have a policy together, important things. So maybe Dr. Ahmed Mendil, with your background, you can take the lead in that, and maybe all the dear colleagues and friends here, we can shape up a policy together on this issue. There are no single country. In Oman in 2018, we had an excellent document that was put on climate change by engineering, by, you know, other parties, but there was no role for bioethics committee in shaping that policy. And it predicted that we would have an outbreak of malaria, but we had an outbreak of dengue, which is similar. I mean, it's vector, you know, vector-borne diseases. Thank you.